Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to my first horror movie review. So I decided to do a couple reviews before the month of October that I like to call a pregame. And the first one is Overlord. This movie, it's been on my radar for a while. I love the idea of like Nazi zombies. Like I used to play Call of Duty World at War, the Nazi zombies mode, a bunch. So I've always wanted to see the concept of Nazi zombies done right, because the last couple that I've seen, uh, well, I think they really missed the mark. But this one, I think they finally did the idea justice. So the story itself is pretty good, taking place the night before D-Day, and the main characters being Private Boyce with Corporal Ford and a few other guys. They're supposed to take out this radio tower, where if they don't take it out, then the Germans, on at Omaha Beach, they can radio to command and get reinforcements. So already that's a pretty good idea on its own. However, as the story progresses, it just gets weirder and weirder until they eventually figure out that the Nazis are creating this serum that will bring the dead back to life. So the mission becomes more than just destroying the tower, but they also have to destroy the secret laboratory full of Nazi zombies. And I'm if they had just committed to just one of these ideas, or one or the other of these ideas, like I still would have enjoyed this film. Like if they took out the whole zombie angle, like I would have been fine with it, because like it's this movie is like an action horror film all the way, but the horror comes in like even before the zombies are introduced. Like the whole sequence of Private Boyce being thrown out of the plane with gunfire all around him, like it actually looked pretty intense. And like even later on, like right after he lands and he meets up with Ford, and they have to watch their sergeant get like just killed by the Germans, and like all they can do is just sit back and watch, otherwise they'll get killed too. That's a pretty, I wouldn't say horrifying, but like I'd say a scary moment. But from there, like they go to this house. They meet this one woman named Chloe, and the first sequence that starts to tell you that something's up is when Boyce sees Chloe's aunt, and she looks like all grotesque and bloated, and like I think parts of her face were starting to peel off. Which that reminds me, there are a few good scary moments in this film, mostly from body horror from like the Nazi zombies, but there's also quite a few jump scares, and I do kind of wish that they kind of balanced that out, where they had like fewer jump scares and relied more on like natural like scare scenes, if that makes sense. Like the scene where the photographer character gets killed, so they pump him full of that serum, and he immediately comes back to life. Like that actually looked pretty terrifying, especially when like his body starts to mangle itself, and I think like the neck bones were popping out or something like that. Like those actually looked pretty creepy. And even with the main antagonist being the Waffner character, like after his face gets completely mutilated, so he injects himself twice with with the zombie serum, and it makes him look like completely gnarly and just disgusting. Like that, again, that's another great moment of body horror. So I kind of wish that they didn't go with all the jump scares. Uh, aside from that, like the music is great, the shots are great. There's at least 2 instances where like they do everything in a one take, which I really like. It looks just so engaging and everything. The effects are pretty good, both again with the zombies and with the whole fact that it's war. So like the gunshots and the explosions are great. What else? The music was pretty good. I felt a lot of times the music fit very well with the movie, especially being like a war, being essentially a war film. Let's see. Oh, and I do think it's a little bit funny that this movie had quite a few MCU actors. Like, you got Corporal Ford, who is played by Wyatt Russell, who, funny enough, he becomes John Walker, who I'd argue that his character of Ford was basically John Walker before John Walker. You got Bokeem Woodbine, who played the sergeant that gets killed in the first few minutes. He was the Shocker in Spider-Man Homecoming. And then you got that photographer character, the one who comes back to life, that has like the really great body horror moment. I can't remember his name, but he also played Leo Fitz in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So, I don't know, I just think it's funny that they got so many actors from Marvel to be in this project. The only thing that I think was a little bit weird in this movie that I don't know if it's correct to call it a plot hole or anything, but there's a sequence where Boyce first goes into the compound, and he finds the secret laboratory, and he comes across this one soldier who was with them in the plane that got shot down, and there's like a needle with a massive tube just hanging out of him, and he just simply pulls it out and just takes the guy back to Chloe's house. And throughout the entire movie, I was expecting him to eventually turn into a zombie or whatever, or at least like fall dead because of that huge injury. But no, he's fine, and not only is he fine, but he also helps out in fighting off the Germans during the last 10-15 minutes. And I personally thought that was a little bit weird, how he's apparently completely fine after that massive wound. But other than that, this was a great movie and a great Nazi zombie film. Like, I would love to see like a full-on Call of Duty film that takes inspiration from this, or say like they do an adaptation of World at War, and one of the side plots is like something like this, where they find out that the Nazis have been testing out trying to raise the dead, and I think that would be great. But aside from that, this film was damn near fantastic, and I just wish that I saw it in the theater, because I feel like that would have boosted my reaction to it. But that's it for this review, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for the other warm-up movie. Bye, everyone.